It's time to pick a side. The Border War is on the air with BG and 10.
Do the intro to the show now.
I will. Just
Go ahead and do the intro.
I'm going to. Hello, everyone. Welcome into the Border War.
That's awful.
What, man? What do you want me to freaking do? I'm
Well,
trying
you
to
need
do
to quit
trying
yelling.
To show.
You need to quit screaming at everyone.
It's episode 153. I'm the TanMan, that little grouchy man off to my side that you hear yakking about nonsense.
I sound very pleasant.
That is BG. You can follow us on Twitter. Follow the show at The Border War. He is at BG_Border War. I am at Tar Heel TanMan. Don't forget you can also email your show. Email your picks on the picks list we'll have up at CarolinaBorderWar@gmail.com. BG, we are days away from the big Palmetto State Showdown. The big game, the big rivalry.
You're being funny, right?
Here it is. No, it is a big rivalry. Or at least it was at one time. Clemson and South Carolina.
Dabo said
this
it's
Saturday.
not a rivalry.
He
Well,
said
it wasn't a rivalry when we were winning. Now he says it's a rivalry that's very personal. I don't know. I mean, like, obviously this game itself is not interesting. There's no. All right, so there's one thing, because South Carolina has played pretty well against the two best teams they've played this year, right?
Right.
But, and I haven't heard if Brian Edwards is playing in this game or not.
I think I heard the other day he is not playing.
Okay, I thought that was the case. I don't think this is any breaking news, but without him, South Carolina's offense is just non-existent. I don't think this game will be close. I don't think South Carolina's offense will do anything. I suspect Clemson will have a turnover at some point in the game that'll lead to maybe a couple of field goals for us. That field position gets kind of wonky a couple of times. Aside from that, I don't know how badly they want to beat us. I suspect pretty badly because that seems to be what they're doing right now. I could see this game being 49-3, 51-3.
Yeah,
something along those lines.
What is it? I've got the history of the game, the scores pulled up, and of course we all remember the 63-17. I thought y'all had scored less that night. A couple years ago, 56-7.
Of course, the interesting thing about 63-17 is we were favored to win that game.
That's mind-blowing.
I think we were ranked. That's why Clemson fans, a lot of them will say that's their favorite win.
Yeah. I want this to be a competitive game.
It's not going to be
something to be. I want this to be something that keeps my attention for more than the first 5 minutes. But I'm afraid it's not going to be.
No.
You said it. I think Clemson is. I said the other week.
Aside from that, look at all the awfulness that's surrounding our football program right now. There's just nothing positive about it.
I said the other week they have held this North Carolina close win over the top of Clemson's head for the entire year. Like Paul Feinbaum said Sunday morning, he said it's easier to find someone in the witness protection program than it is to find anyone talking about Clemson football right now because they are just beating people over the head. Like they're not close. No one's giving them a game. They took that North Carolina win and completely turned their season. Like I'm not going to say their season was on the rocks. Not even going to say it was teetering. But there was a chance that they weren't operating at full capacity now, right?
Right.
Yeah, they are now.
Yeah.
And South Carolina has not been for several weeks. I have zero faith that offense is going to be able to generate anything. I think 3 points, 6 points is going to be a huge struggle, and I could see this thing being 63-6.
I don't
63-3 easily.
I really think Clemson's going to win another national title this year, and I'm starting to think I don't think they have a very hard time doing it. I do not think either of the teams that are being held up against them right now, if you look at where they rank nationally in offense and defense, Ohio State's the only team that even has an argument, and that stuff does matter. At least it has in the first
but
5
you
years.
also
of the
have
playoffs.
to take that kind of stuff with a grain of salt too, because the competition that Ohio State has faced, the competition LSU has faced, and the competition that Clemson has faced are vastly different.
All right.
So I get your point. But,
Here's what I'm saying. Well, yeah, but here's my point. I would love to be wrong about it. I don't think I am. I think this game this week isn't even a speed bump. The only thing interesting about this game, and it's
what uniforms y'all wearing?
No. What are the implications for South Carolina football? That's the only. There are no implications for Clemson football. This won't help their ranking. This won't do anything. No one thinks that because South Carolina beat Georgia that makes this win worth something, because we've blown that.
Yeah, that's gone.
It will be very obvious right off the bat that Ryan Helinski's overmatched, that he has no one to throw to. We will have no running game. I expect to see Rico Dowdle tap himself out of this game almost immediately, and I don't even think Tavian Feaster will play in it.
No, I don't think Feaster will play either. At the risk of delving into going down that rabbit hole that we've gone down over and over.
But it's not an interesting thing to talk about.
Well, I'm not interested in going there again. But I want to ask you, and I know your stance on it, given that, where you just brought up the possibility that there are guys that are just going to say, nah, I'm done. Is there a number that Clemson could go down there Saturday and hang on South Carolina that would give pause to your side of the argument?
What's my side of the argument?
Your head coach, Will Muschamp. Like if
that we keep him?
No.
Because that's what I'm arguing.
Well,
not that we should, but
I know, but I'm saying, if you've got guys that are tapping out in basically what is the last statement you can make. Some of these guys, this is going to be the last football game that they ever play.
Right.
For the University of South
Here's
Carolina.
my point.
Is there a number that Clemson could hang Saturday that the Keep Will Muschamp group down there would go, you know what, man, I don't know. This might be a terrible mistake.
70.
Okay. I wouldn't write it off.
It's not. Go back. Let's just look at some of the. Okay, so obviously Clemson's won 63% of these games or so. Go back and just read some scores of Clemson wins. Go back into the 80s. Or in the 90s. Let's just look at some of these scores.
Right,
just read some scores.
We'll start at 88. We got 29-10. We got 45-0. 24-15. 41-24. Yeah, that was it. Then you started getting into the mid-90s. 90s, the 4-game win streak from starting in 97. 47-21. 28-19. 30. I'm reading these things, BG, and if I didn't know any better, I'd wonder whether or not this thing was even really a rivalry. Because if we're going to give Ohio State and Michigan this is not a rivalry anymore, like I'm looking at these scores, you have to go back to 2007 to find one that I would consider, okay, by the end of the night, late in the fourth quarter, I don't know who's going to win this game. That's 11 years, and we're not going to get one this year either.
Well, but my point is you can't find a streak in this rivalry where either team has been as far ahead as Clemson is right now. And I don't mean just this year.
Well, no.
Yeah, we've got a pretty decent game last year, but I think take that for what it's worth. You go back to the year before that, you got to beat down. The year before that, you've got to beat down. These two programs have never been this far away, and I think you're absolutely right. It's bordering on not being a rivalry anymore, because I don't think Clemson even thinks about this game anymore.
No, go back to when you guys had your 5-game win streak, okay?
They were 10 to 15-point wins.
Right. 17, you had the 29-7 win, 34-14, you won by 10, you won by 14. Man, Clemson's winning 3 touchdowns. You got a 56-7 in there. I mean, it's some of them are similar, but it just feels different, man. I can't put my feeling. When you were beating Clemson those 5 years in a row, I felt like
even though we beat
Clemson
them,
was still they were
a
your
good
equal.
football
They
team.
were they were a good football team. They were your equal.
They were winning ACC championships.
And now it's just it feels like the nail trying to fight the hammer, man. And
I said this. I think I said this on the show last week, and I certainly tweeted it. South Carolina football is hovering right on the edge of maybe never being relevant again. I mean, we've entered a different age in college football right now, and of all the times when this could have happened, I don't know that you recover from this. They don't have anyone coming back next year. There is no one on this offense or defense who's ready to step up. No playmakers. Nobody has emerged. I think this will be a 3-win team next year. Then they'll fire Muschamp. Not because they shouldn't have before, but because it'll be cheap enough to do.
Unless Clemson hangs 70 on it.
And I'm just saying it's a possibility. I don't know, man. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, well, like I said, I wasn't trying to get into that discussion, but give me a score for Saturday. Somehow we've gotten to. I didn't think we got 11 and a half minutes. I didn't think we would get this long. I thought you would just be like, just forget it. I'm going 63-3.
I was going to say 63-7.
Yeah.
I could see us running a punt back, kind of after Clemson's not really paying attention anymore.
Yeah. Do we get a Clemson lineman kicking extra points? Because I've got one friend that's what's got him fired up. It's not that Clemson's gonna they're gonna hang half 100. It's that he doesn't want linemen kicking points and he doesn't want any of that.
I mean, if you're a Clemson fan, how can you be excited about beating South Carolina right now? How can that do anything for you?
Well, I mean, it's still your air quote rival. Like if Duke basketball when we first we play our first game.
Yeah,
of
but
the year,
you can't compare that.
What I'm
because
saying,
you've already got the history you've got. You can't get rid of that. This isn't that. Isn't that.
Well, no, you're talking about. You asked me about getting excited about beating them. I'm saying if Duke was 10-12 the first matchup of the season, and we beat, I would still be just as happy then as if I would if we had beaten a 20-0 team.
This is the first year in my life when I can remember not having an ounce of dread in my system about losing this game. Not any. I just don't care.
I don't think it's.
And I don't. I mean,
I don't think it's that you.
I'm
don't
almost
care.
going to take a sort of sick enjoyment out of watching this inept university just get its ass kicked one more time. I
don't think it's that you
unreal.
don't care. I think it's that time and time. Every time they've had an opportunity to, I don't say get better, but every time you felt like they were going to turn a corner, they took the other corner. There was a fork in the road. They took the wrong one, and it's legit. And at this point, you're just like, man, whatever. Kind of like me with the Cowboys, Jason Garrett. Kind of like you with the Redskins and Dan Snyder. You're just like, what are we doing here, man? Whatever.
Well, the difference is, and we're going to get into the NFL here, I guess, in a second here. But the difference is, the reason I don't have any hope for the Redskins is because Daniel Snyder continues to be the owner. But you can have more hope in general for an NFL franchise because they can actively affect, right, what's going on.
They can control how they.
South Carolina is in a bad situation here. Georgia and Clemson notwithstanding, this team can't recruit. Can you imagine who in the world? Can you imagine Will Muschamp coming to your house and trying to convince you to play football for South Carolina? I mean, what?
No.
What? I just.
No. If I'm a recruit and Will Muschamp comes to my house, I'm probably just sitting in the other room like, oh, okay, man, I hear you.
And again, I just think that I don't care if he's back next year. I don't think because Ray Tanner still knows what he thinks he knows. And it doesn't matter if it's right. And nobody's going to learn anything from this. Nobody's going to learn anything from this. It just, if there's hope, then it's a decade from now, after everyone who's there, you've got a whole cycle that needs to go by before South Carolina will have a crack at finding the head football coach they need to flip the script on some of these guys. But
I'll say that might be the saddest sounding soliloquy I've ever heard since we started. You're just like, I don't know. It's just, we just stink.
Well, but because no, I don't think I sound anything like that.
That's exactly what you sounded like.
But these problems run deeper than the football team, and I've tried to tell you that this is a dysfunctional university, and the football team is an absolute representation of that. Our presidential hire is an absolute reputation of that, and you see what a great job he's doing.
Yeah.
I mean, he's hamstringing this athletic program already. Keep in mind, this is a university that has had a president go to federal prison because of interference with the athletic program. All right, there is a blueprint. This stuff has happened before. I'm not suggesting Bob Caslin's breaking the law. I'm suggesting he's in over his head because USC will always be in Columbia where there are politics and where people use the university to further their own political designs. Clemson will never face problems like that because of where it is. It's in the perfect conference. It's in the perfect place. It's in the perfect part of the state to be able to do what it's doing. The real question has always been for me, what took them so long from 1981 until now to do what they're doing? Because nothing's ever stood in their way except for themselves.
I'll tell you what it is. The mega church explosion, that's what did it.
Well, and it didn't help that Florida State fell off the face of the earth.
The mega church explosion did it. Put a bow on the Clemson South Carolina talk. Clemson wins by a lot.
Yeah,
there it is,
and it won't mean anything.
BG, I want to tell you the knock on Clemson for years and years has been the ACC. The ACC schedule, they don't play anybody, yada yada yada.
That might be the knock on them. They're not paying a price for it. They're winning national titles.
That is what it is. I think Saturday in Raleigh, North Carolina, Saturday night at 7 o'clock, the road to that, the roadblock the foil that Clemson needs.
I will
in the
be
ACC.
in Raleigh Saturday night.
Are you going to the game?
Well, I think we'll be driving back by that point. We always drive back on Saturdays.
What's one more night? What's one more night to watch a huge night in the history of North Carolina football? The Mac Brown-led North Carolina Tar Heels going for 6 wins after a big win in front of 14 people in a driving rainstorm against Mercer. I'm going to tell you, God bless you if you went to that football game because it looked miserable out there. There were some folks, and if you're one of the, if you're a real fan, stop it, man. If you're a real fan, you got tickets and it's Virginia Tech, then you go. When it's Mercer, you stay home and drink hot chocolate and sit in front of a fire. But the Tar Heels, they get their 5th win. And so now they're staring at a matchup with the rival Wolfpack, who just dropped to NC State and will not be heading to a bowl game. BG, I think that this football game tonight could change, this football game Saturday changes the way the ACC is going to be looked at next year. Because I think North Carolina is going to be the team from the Coastal next year that everyone's going to point at and go, okay, that's the team we're watching, right? That's.
I assume that means you think they're going to beat NC State.
Yes.
Okay.
They're going to point to North Carolina and go, that's the other half of the ACC championship game going into the season next year. And if you do that coming off of a team that's 5-7, loses on the road to a rival, it doesn't carry as much weight. It doesn't carry. But if you do that if you're pointing to that team and you're going, okay, this team went from 5 wins in 2 years to 6, maybe 7 with a bowl game. Okay, that's a team. You can sell North Carolina being the next team, the next challenger to Clemson, a whole lot better with 6 wins and a bowl trip than 5-7. So this is, we said the other week I felt like the Pittsburgh game was the biggest game. Scratch that. It's this one.
Well, I mean, it is now.
It is now.
Yeah, I mean, it is now because you're right. If you win this game, and it doesn't have to be convincing. I mean, just if you win this game.
One more point, as Dabo Swinney says. One more point.
Because that's what that game was when he said that. But if you win this game on the road, NC State rivalry game, nighttime kickoff, Carter Finley. I mean, I've said for years. I mean, I know NC State really well because they are South Carolina. Those two schools have more in common than any two places in the United States. Even though they will tell you that, strangely enough, they hate each other a whole lot. I mean, that was a nasty rivalry when we played them a lot. But Carter Finley is not an easy place to go win a football game, especially at night, especially if you're North Carolina. This is your whole season. If you lose this game, then everything from the early part of the season,
all that goodwill,
it's just gone. It's just gone. Then the narrative starts to turn into, if Mack Brown doesn't win at North Carolina next year,
right?
Maybe he's not the guy. Maybe he's too old. If you win this game,
that's
and
right.
You're 6-6, and you get all that extra bowl practice, and North Carolina stays in the conversation for the whole. And let's be honest, at 6-6, you're going to get a team you can beat. You're going to get a team in the bowl you can beat. You're absolutely right. Now, I don't have a feeling about who's going to win this game. I think it's going to be.
I think it's going to be tight,
super close.
That's one thing you can say about North Carolina. It seems like a pretty safe bet. It's going to be a close game.
And to be fair, that doesn't give me a good feeling for you because you haven't been great in those close games. But this is the last one. Maybe that kind of clicks it in, right, guys? Maybe being under a super amount of pressure in a weird kind of way takes some of the pressure off. If you're not going to do it now, you're just not going to do it, right? Hey, this is a huge game for Mack Brown and his brand. That's the right word. His brand at Chapel Hill this second time around. What is this team? How is it going to get talked about? And that stuff is huge in college football.
Man, I think I saw earlier, getting ready for the show. I think our recruiting class next year, and this is
you get ready for the show
every once in a while. I try to come up with something.
I tucked my shirt in. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I'm familiar with that shirt, but
it's my Monday shirt.
But no, I think our recruiting class next year was something like 16th in the country, second in the ACC. I think Trenton Simpson from the linebacker from Charlotte.
I wish being 16th in the nation could get you second in your conference.
Yeah.
We're 17th in the country. We're 9th in the SEC.
That's awesome. Still waiting on the commitment from Trenton Simpson. I think it is the linebacker from Charlotte. I think that has been trending North Carolina's direction. And again, you can sell this thing so much better.
Oh, it's not even
so much better.
It's a watershed game, man. It really is.
Than going 6-6 and going, all right, even the Quick Lane Bowl in Detroit, as opposed to being 5-7, man. This is everything, man. We said before the year that I think they can get to 6-6. I think that's an attainable goal. And time after time, you can't be in the conversation you want to be in, losing 3 out of your last 4. I mean, you have to win this football game. There's no other way around it. If you're Mack Brown, you have to win this football game.
And I don't.
Period.
I think. Look, if you win this game, you take a guy. Okay, like Sam Howell's the most marketable guy. He may be more marketable than anybody on your basketball team right now. The guy, he's a rock star. All right.
Oh yeah.
Then you start seeing him appearing on ACC commercials beside Trevor Lawrence. If you win this game, Trevor Lawrence only got 1 year left at Clemson after this. Right, he's on his way out.
He's going to be it, man.
This guy's coming in. If you lose this game, you see none of that. That's still how they'll introduce your games. But what I'm saying is you won't see the league grab hold of it.
Right.
They won't throw Sam Howell up there, even though he will have no less of a remarkable season. None of these losses are really on him.
No.
In fact, I could say, he kind of won the games you did win for you. But you see I think we're both saying the same thing, but it's huge.
Yeah.
Huge. This is one of those games that could change the way your football programs perceive the entire next season. Because it'll affect how your players come out of this season thinking. You don't have a bowl game, you go out on a loss.
Well, like I said, especially when
it's still some of what Mac's tried to tell them. Yeah. They start wondering, man, maybe we just lose these games.
Especially when you started off 2-0.
Right.
When you started off 2-0, it felt like you were playing with house money, and you quickly gave that back. And then after that, it's just been a constant grind, and the question about whether or not they can finish the game, whether or not they can break through that glass ceiling. It feels crazy to be sitting here talking about how huge a North Carolina NC State game is, big picture. But I feel like for the program, for Mac Brown, like you said, what he's trying to build here, this is it, man. This is everything. Over to the NFL side, talk me out of this, BG. Give me a reason to keep the Dallas Cowboys in the box, because I am ready to take this box up and ship it out to Arlington, Texas, and let them have it.
The Redskins and the Cowboys both, even though they are obviously in very different places, but the thing they have in common right now is broken record syndrome. It feels like we've been talking about the same things with these teams all season long, and no one in either of those organizations seems capable of making the changes required. The Cowboys are a poorly coached team, and they were playing a New England team that I think we can see has a really good defense but doesn't have a lot else.
It reminds you a lot of the Broncos a couple years ago.
It really does. It really does. But, I still think, sort of to jump the gun on some other stuff that we're going to get into here, I mean, I still think you guys backdoor your way into winning this division. But, man,
listen. Have you looked at Philadelphia's schedule the rest of the way?
No, I haven't. I mean,
2 with the Giants, and the Redskins, and the Dolphins, and then they've got us.
Well, you've got us again too,
right? But we've also got a trip to Chicago. We've got Buffalo.
Well, that's the But no, I'll tell you this: that Buffalo game,
that's going to be
it's a litmus test, man. But it's going to tell you where this team really stands. Because if you lose, is that at home or is that at Buffalo?
Well, no, it's almost Thanksgiving.
Okay, so if Buffalo beats you Thursday,
see, here's what concerns me about that is we are just coming off of that trip to New England where it's like raining and sleeting, whatever it was doing up there. They said the wind was awful. That was the worst part. In a game that you gave away. You handed them that football game. Yeah. You gave them 10 points. Jason Garrett settles for a field goal when that's the only time that you've even gotten close to sniffing the end zone, and you just give it away.
Yes, no killer by kicking
it. No, never has. No. Yeah. You give that, and again, you only get down there because Randall Cobb catches a ball, gets it knocked away, and reels it back out. Like, that was it, man. You were getting one crack at this thing Sunday.
You weren't coming back.
You weren't getting another chance.
You were there by luck anyway. You have to go for the touchdown.
Right. You weren't getting another chance at this. And once again, I think we've seen through Jason Garrett's entire tenure as the Dallas Cowboys coach, we're going to be just good enough with this guy to not get blown out.
What I was going to say is it's like his philosophy is keep it respectable.
Thank you.
That's what he's doing.
We're going to get close enough to where we almost beat a good team. Here it is. It is Thanksgiving. We're days away from Thanksgiving. We still have not beaten a team with a winning record.
You're right.
And all this stuff that everyone says about the Cowboys.
You're about to be a team without a winning record.
Thank you. All this stuff that everyone says about the Cowboys. This offensive line. Stop it. This offensive line is not the best offensive line in football anymore. That day has come and gone.
Yeah.
That
2 years ago, I think.
That day is over with.
Yeah. It's been a while.
And so now, coming off that, coming off that game in New England Sunday, a short turnaround against a Buffalo team that, if they weren't in the AFC East, would probably get a whole lot more talk than what they're getting now. They just kind of get steamrolled by being in the Patriots division. Like, no, this has, to me, this thing's Thursday is all set up for us to just get our butts kicked.
And I mean, if that happens, then I think what you've been. I mean, I think that he has to go, because the Bills are one of those teams. Yes, they're very good, but you should be able to beat Buffalo at this point in the season in a home game, because they're a second place team in their division behind a team that you should have just beaten. So if you lose to the entire top half of another division, then that shows you that you're only where you are because you're
lost to the Jets too. Let's not forget that one.
Oh, that's a good point.
No, I think
that's a good point.
Yeah, I've listened to Jerry Jones talk a lot over the years because the man loves to talk. It's very rare to me that the entire Jason Garrett tenure, I don't think he's ever been as critical of him as a lot of the rest of us Cowboy fans have been. He's always been the yeah but guy. Now I think he's starting to see, because this is like
we started the season with him not getting his contract extension, so that was already laid down.
This is like the third or fourth time after a game that he's commented on the coaches and the coaching staff and some of the calls and things. I think that Jerry has finally figured out, look, man, if you want a team to go from 5 wins to 8 wins, then Jason Garrett's probably a pretty good guy to have. But if you want a team to go from 8 wins to 12 or 13 wins, be in the Super Bowl conversation, look, man, we got the Willie Taggart. He's in over his head here. Let's just call it what it is. He's in over his head. And hopefully,
do you not feel to some degree about Jerry Jones the way I feel about Ray Tanner, in that you've had exactly one coach do anything under Jerry Jones? And I don't want to talk about Barry Switzer. We know what that was. All right? Uh-huh. That was Jimmy Johnson, period. He's not going to go hire whoever Jimmy Johnson is now. He's going to hire another Jason Garrett. He seems to be stuck. Well, I mean, but you can disagree with me because it makes you feel better. But he has shown us nothing. I mean, yeah, he went and got Parcells, but look what happened.
I disagree.
Look what happened.
I disagree. I think the next guy that comes is going to have maybe not Jimmy Johnson control, because he basically turned the whole thing over to Jimmy Johnson.
But not because he wanted to. Yeah. Because he didn't have a choice, because Johnson could do that. I don't see him hiring that guy.
But now I think he is so desperate for another crack at a Super Bowl that he would. Like we've talked about, he's already relinquished like some of the team operations to Stephen. Like over the years, we've seen Stephen Garrett's fingerprints on this organization.
Not on the stuff that matters.
I think so too. We've seen his fingerprints all over the draft the last 5 years. I think he's given some of that stuff up. Now, make no mistake, the buck still stops at Jerry Jones' desk, but he is infinitely more open to other ideas and other ways of doing things now than he was 10 years ago. I guess
here would be my analogy, because you can compare him and Daniel Snyder, because Daniel Snyder models himself after Jerry Jones, which is laughable. But that Snyder, for years and years, was said if he would just get his hands out of the pudding, right? Mm-hmm. And he did, until it was a quarterback, until it was something that really mattered to him. Then he sets the franchise back 10 years. And I think Jones is the same way with head coaches. Snyder's that way about quarterbacks. Jerry Jones is like that about a head coach. And, yeah, I think he could get rid of Jason Garrett, but why did he hire him to begin with? Because he was a Cowboy. Because he's one of us. Because, like, that means something in the NFL. It doesn't mean anything. This isn't college football.
Well, I think being a Cowboy and being one of us has gotten Jason Garrett more leash
there's no
than
question.
anybody else that would have taken that job.
There. Yeah.
But I think Jerry is fine. That Sunday might have finally been it. Because you watch San Francisco and you watch Seattle.
Give me a name. Who's your next head coach?
Well, I told you, I think it's Lincoln Riley.
Okay.
I think it's Lincoln Riley. But I'm saying you watch these other teams in the NFC, and then you watch us.
I'm not sure you want Lincoln Riley to have complete control of your football team, though. There's a lot that goes on with running an NFL team that he doesn't know about. He does one thing. He runs. He coaches quarterbacks and calls plays.
You're right.
I'm just saying. I mean that would be.
But
flipping the script. There is no question.
But my retort to that would be, I don't think that when he comes in, it's not a complete roster teardown like Jimmy Johnson did. Like, I think that they're going to roll with what we're going to roll with what we've got.
Right.
But I think it's just being mismanaged. Get somebody else in there that knows how to manage the pieces you have, then you'll have something. But no, I wouldn't turn my whole front office over to him.
Short term, you'll have something.
Yeah, but I wouldn't turn my whole front office and everything over to him. But this isn't a situation where you have to do that. You already have the quarterback. You have the running back. You have the receiver. You've got the pieces on the defense. It's just about putting them in the right places, man. It's just about putting them in the right places. Your boys, Redskins, got a nice win.
Got a win. I wouldn't call it a nice win. We eked out a win against a second-string quarterback.
We talk about the Lions are always that, really good, but never quite.
Yeah, but they didn't have their quarterback.
True.
They didn't have.
But that's not the story, though.
I mean, I guess you could argue we really don't have our quarterback either.
Oh, no,
our quarterback's still
you got your quarterback.
Leg.
You got your quarterback. But that's not the story of Sunday. The story of Sunday is this guy is taking pictures in the stands while the win. Like, this is his first win, right?
Yeah.
He's not even out there to kneel down on his first win.
Thought the game was over.
He's playing in the stands with people's cell phones, man. What is happening here?
I don't think that's the story. I mean, I don't like that. But I'll tell you what I think the story is. His incredibly inaccurate passes. That's the story. Look, I already said this. This right now is a sham. You write this down in the book of promise. In fact, I don't know. I don't know. I will do some kind of embarrassing punishment on the show. You can make me eat raw eggs or something if I'm wrong about this.
No, I'll record that. I mean, we're going to mark this.
Listen. Dwayne Haskins, he may be on the roster. I don't know about all that. He will not be the quarterback in Washington, D.C. when this new head coach is hired. If he is, then you can kiss this franchise goodbye for the near future because damage has been done here. This kid was not given, whether he could have been an NFL quarterback, we won't ever find out. Because up there, I mean, just go back and look at what's happened. Even since Jay Gruden was fired, he wasn't given the reps in camp. He was running the scout team. We know what scout teams do, right? Yeah. So he's spending his practice hours up until week 7 or 8.
Running other
teams' offenses. What in the hell is that? And I think he was a project. I think he needed a lot of reps. We talked about it before the season started. I told you that Jay Gruden was going to try to save his own job, that it was a terrible time to bring in a new quarterback to begin with. Everything about this franchise is mismatched. Him taking selfies in the stands is the least of their concerns. This kid looks lost on the field right now. Lost. His best pass was to Terry McLaurin. Now, Terry McLaurin looks like the deal. This kid's going to be a star.
McLaurin looks tough.
If somebody can throw him the football, Dwayne Haskins' only really awesome play of the game was a pass that had no business being caught that McLaurin just laid out for him.
Which blows my mind because you watched this kid last year at Ohio State.
Well, I think
it's like 50 like the kid can throw. We know he can throw. So what's going on?
He doesn't know the playbook. He doesn't know what he's doing. And I started to tweet this morning. How many games do we have left? 3, 4? 5. Wouldn't it be nice to know that you had named him the starter and you've gotten to this point in the season and you had 10 more games to play to really know something? But you don't. You don't.
Well, which is what I said.
Well, it's what we both
3
said.
weeks in. You said don't play him. I said play him almost from the beginning.
I said to start him week 1.
I thought you said
No. I told you they wouldn't. I told you that Colt McCoy would start before him, and you laughed at me because you don't understand how this franchise works.
I thought you were against starting him. I'd go back and listen, but no, they have mismanaged this whole thing,
which is just shocking.
Which blows your mind. They never mismanage anything. But I don't know. I kind of feel bad for the kid.
No, I definitely feel bad for the kid.
I've never been a Dwayne Haskins fan, but I do. I feel bad for the kid, man. Like even when he got drafted, it felt like they didn't really want to draft him.
No, they didn't.
And
it came out. They wanted Daniel Jones.
Yeah, but Daniel Jones was long gone by the time.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is they took Haskins as a consolation.
That's what I'm saying.
Even though the narrative was that they got their guy. But again, who is they? See, that's the whole problem there. You've got a head coach that wants one thing. You've got a general manager who, for some reason, despite being 47 games under 500 in his tenure there over a decade, still has a job. Again, man, look, this is what Washington deserves. It's certainly not what the fan base deserves. It's certainly not really what the players deserve. But when the top of your organization, manager and president, we don't have a GM, when that is as dysfunctional and hostile and out of touch as it is, this is all you're going to get. And I just don't see any way out of it. The only thing I could see at some point, I really wonder if the NFL, if all the owners, if there's a clause where they can just be like, look, what is this? Because, if you're, okay, let's say you're the Bears. Let's say you're the Bears.
Okay.
Can't you make the argument, y'all are giving Dallas 2 wins a year? No, but really, this is not a competitive franchise. They are,
if they were going to pull that card, they would have pulled that 5 years ago on somebody in the AFC East.
Yeah, but
because the Patriots have been getting 6 wins a year.
Yeah, but Bob Kraft is well liked. I don't think people like Daniel Snyder. I think there are plenty of owners that would like to get him out. I know you're a Cowboys fan, but can you not at least grant me that the Redskins are one of the franchises, like Nebraska is in college football, right? When the Redskins are a powerhouse, the NFL's better. They're one of those teams. What the Tennessee Titans do, it doesn't matter. What the Jacksonville Jaguars do, it doesn't matter. Hell, what the Indianapolis Colts do now that they don't have a marquee quarterback, it doesn't matter. The Bears, the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Redskins, the Giants, the Steelers, those teams that have been there, those are the teams that drive ratings. They're the teams that drive value in the league. This is a team that is the second most valuable sports franchise on the planet Earth behind y'all. And look at what it is. And that is not going to remain the case. If you don't think the league is going to lose money overall because of the Redskins, then you don't understand the stake that the Redskins have played in the popularity of this league and how big of a deal they have been for 40 and 50 years. But that is ending rapidly.
The Redskins, the Redskins that you are referring to, those days were done long before the NFL became king of the mountain. The NFL became king of the mountain without the help of the Washington Redskins, and they don't need the help of the Redskins to drive ratings going forward. Like, they've done all this. The league has taken the sports world over. The whole time the Redskins have been terribly mismanaged and have been a dumpster fire in most seasons. They don't need the Redskins. They don't need the Cowboys.
They don't need anybody, but my point is that when you look at the overall value of the team, that value is going to drop. And that takes money out of the league coffers.
Let's see. Maybe they'll contract the Redskins. Hell, maybe send them to London. That's what I've been saying for like 10 years. You want to fix this? Ship them to London.